You know, I really don't ask for much. I really don't. All I would like is one preseason slate where I don't run awful and have the worst luck known to man. That is all that I ask. All right? We'll recap everything here in a sec. But if you guys are a first-time viewer, welcome. My name is DK. I do cover content for NFL and NBA on Draftkings. Also, Prize Picks as well. They are the sponsor of the video. You can use the code DKDFS for a 100% match up to $100. Been doing very, very well in the preseason. Went 5 for 6 tonight. 16 of 18 overall. It's been phenomenal for us. Yeah, really been taking advantage of those NBA preseason lines. They have a lot of different sports to offer. Again, it's a prop-based site, and you can mix and match. Pick to two to 5 players and win up to 10x your money. So give it a try if you are a first-time user. If you guys are looking for premium content, you can check out my Patreon link down below. A lot of different packages, DFS package, Prize Picks package, all that stuff. Okay, now let's get to the recap here. And this is, again, just once what I like to not run awful. All right, just one time. Let's first start with this. And I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but the Thunder head coach, just look at this quote. Just look at it. I just want you to really think about this, all right? Look at this quote. Better look at it. Just giving you guys, a few seconds to process this, all right? All right, so he's got to be trolling here, right? It's got to be a troll. Didn't reveal his starters tonight, not just specific to tonight, but said he's getting in the habit of doing it for a competitive advantage. It is the preseason. Number one, it is the preseason. Number two, this is literally not allowed. There was a rule like 3 years ago. Every team has to reveal the starters like 30 minutes before lock. This is a fireable offense, if you ask me, by the Thunder coach. All right, so that's number one. Also, Giddey not coming back the second half. Like, let us know, bro. He's a loser. This coach is a loser for doing that. Number two. Oh, boy. And this is what I'm talking about, right? Let's look at my lineup here at halftime of just look at this, all right? At halftime of the Lakers-Suns game, I'm in 5th place in high stakes with a 10% owned LeBron. Literally going to get first or second, winning either $3,000 or $2,000 in this tournament in high stakes, okay? A 10% LeBron. Look at, okay? He's got 37.5. Let's take a look at this quote. Darvin Ham, Mr. Ham. Starting off on a good foot, huh? Will ramp up the playing time for LeBron and Russell Westbrook tonight. He will keep AD in the high teens. Oh, wait, where is... I literally realized I quote tweeted the wrong one, but okay, this is the tweet, all right? Darvin Ham said he expects LeBron and Westbrook to be in the high 20s for tonight. In the high 20s. Now, if LeBron comes out in the second half, again, I'm getting first or second. And they said high 20s minutes. There's a chance maybe he plays a couple minutes in the fourth quarter. I'm thinking this is great. We're going to get a takedown. We're going to get second place. No. Cole Swider starts the second half for LeBron. And LeBron plays 15 minutes. And I have a 10% on LeBron. The coach said he's going to play high 20s minutes. Plays him 15 minutes. Now, if you know anything about me, there is absolutely nothing that tilts me more than when coaches flat out lie. A flat out lie from Ham here, right? Why? Why would you lie? There is literally no reason to lie. It's the preseason. You say high 20s minutes, you play them 15. Cost me thousands of dollars. This is what I'm saying. Can I just not run awful once? Once. And you think the LeBron part was the only unlucky part? Buckle up. Because we got one more thing to cover here. Remember last night when I had low-o Najee Marshall pick up 3 fouls in 5 minutes and 4 fouls in 8 minutes to lose out in massive minutes? Remember that? How about a low-o Isaiah Jackson? 2 fouls in 2 minutes and gets pulled. First of all, why are we pulling him after 2 fouls? It's the preseason. After a 2-minute shift, 2 fouls pulled. Comes back in the second, right? Oh, yeah. You know what's going to happen, right? Comes back in the second. Not even in question. 3rd foul, immediately pulled. Plays 4 first half minutes at low ownership. Once, right? I just want one night where I don't have the worst luck. Yeah, going over the rest of my lineup. So, Tyrese Halliburton, I don't know what on earth that game was from him. That was just horrific. Now, I am a bit surprised how LaMelo and Halliburton literally got all the ownership and those Suns guards were very low owned. That surprised me because we knew the Suns were going to play in the second half. I talked about it a lot on Patreon. I talked about how, they were very, very safe plays, but I liked this Pacers Hornets game just because there's going to be no defense played. But yeah, Halliburton just had an awful game. It was just that. The minutes were there. He played in the second half. Just an absolutely awful game for their star player. LaMelo was solid. Oubre was really solid at low ownership. Boucher was a bit of a letdown. I wasn't expecting huge minutes from him, but he's about a point per minute guy, and I was thinking he would get high teens minutes. I was thinking we'd get close to 20 fantasy points from Boucher. He just had a bad first shift. I think he only had 4 fantasy points in 8 minutes in his first shift, so got a little bit unlucky. But what I talked about for value on Patreon was I wanted a lot of those high usage backups. So Boucher, Isaiah Jackson, Hardy. So Hardy was a guy I talked about a lot. I couldn't make him a core play because I just didn't know what the minutes were going to be. Right, at Dallas, it sounded like that they were not going to play their veterans a ton, but I just couldn't, have full confidence with his minutes, but he went off. Another play I really liked at low ownership was Jock Landale. He had a very good night as well. And then, again, Josh Giddey going for 25 at half. Of course, he gets pulled. No news of that. And LeBron, about to take me to either a takedown or second place, pulled. Plays 15 minutes. So, it was still overall a good night, but the LeBron getting pulled, and then on Prize Picks, I went 5 for 6. Scotty Barnes missed by 0.5. That cost me about a couple $1,000s. So these bad beats cost me probably $4,000 to $5,000 tonight. I was still a profitable night. I still profited $700-800 in DraftKings and Prize Picks, but lost out on the big money because number one in DraftKings, coaches. And then on Prize Picks, Barnes with the hook, missing by 0.5. But yeah, that was the recap. Again, here are some other big winners in the Discord. We had the takedown on FanDuel. You love to see it. A few more takedowns, 6x night here, $600, $400 first place finish. Gabe with a $300 first place finish. So it was a really solid day overall. And yeah, that's the recap of everything. So can I please not run bad tomorrow? Please. Like, no foul trouble, no random, or no coaches lying and me being on the short end of the stick because of it. Please. Please. All right, now let's talk about this 3-game slate. So Miami and Brooklyn, the first game here. And I was really surprised how much the Heat played their starters in the first game. You saw 26 minutes for Hero, 27 for Yurt Goat 7. Martin played 23. Bam Adebayo played 25. Lowry did only play 16. He was the only starter that did not come back. And you did see some solid minutes for guys on the bench. Highsmith played 19. Garrett played 22. Strus played 25. Duncan Robinson played 18. So I was a little bit surprised how much the starters played. You didn't see Jimmy or Oladipo or Gabe Vincent. We'll keep an eye on news. Maybe they do rest some other starters. So, again, that is very important to monitor. But I think Hero stands out. I mean, he's played the most in like the preseason over the last couple of years. So I think he makes for a pretty good play, assuming that he plays into the second half. I mean, if we're going to get like 25 minutes from Bam Adebayo, I obviously have interest in him. But I'm not convinced we do get those minutes unless we hear otherwise before lock. So those two are viable. Jimmy, if he plays, again, in play, but don't know how much he would play if he does. Value-wise for the Heat, so once again, I like Yurt 7. They did start him in the front court, played him alongside Bam Adebayo. They've been experimenting with that front court. So, Omer Yurt 7, I think, is a pretty good value play. Whether he starts or comes to the bench, I think he's going to get solid run. Other options, I mean, you have Strus and Robinson are both fine. They're a bit score independent, but they should get decent minutes. Is there anything else? I mean, Haywood Highsmith is okay. I mentioned him as a contrarian value play last slate, and he went for 8.7 boards, almost a double-double for him. So a little bit interested in Highsmith. I think he will crack the regular rotation, actually, for the Miami Heat. I think he's actually a pretty solid player. But yeah, that is it for the Heat. Let's move on to the Brooklyn Nets. So for the Nets, Kyrie Irving sounds like he will not play. I mean, it was personal why he didn't practice on Wednesday, so we will see. And then Seth Curry has been banged up, and it sounds like he will still be out. So those are the two guys I expect to be out here for Brooklyn. Now for the Nets, we knew that the main guys were going to play 15 to 20 minutes, and Steve Nash told the truth, right? You saw 19 for Durant, 19 for Simmons, 19 for Kyrie, 14 and 15 for Harrison Claxton. So I do expect the minutes to bump up, but we will monitor that. So if we get news that Kyrie's out and KD is going to play into the second half, well, I think KD stands out as one of the best spend-ups in the slate with no Kyrie Irving if he's going to play 25 or so minutes. So I like KD a lot. We'll keep an eye on it. But right now, he's one of my favorite spend-ups, assuming that Kyrie doesn't play. Now, if Kyrie does play, then they're both solid plays. I still think KD would be the bit safer of the two, but both have a pretty high ceiling. And you got Ben Simmons, who got a pretty big price increase. He's 7.2K. He had a decent game. This is kind of a Ben Simmons stat line, right? 6 points, 4 boards, 5 assists. That's basically what he does. So 7.2, I don't love the price point. I definitely do prefer Kyrie if he plays in KD, but Simmons would still be viable. Again, we'll keep an eye on news. Other options here for Brooklyn. So Claxton got a price increase. He's 6K. I think he's fine. Him and Day'Ron Sharpe should split the center minutes. They're both in play. Day'Ron Sharpe didn't have the best game in 19 minutes, only went for 6 points and 4 boards, but both those guys are solid as far as point per minute goes. So the two net centers are fine. Would have wished they're a little bit cheaper, though. Don't love the price points on guys like Royce or Joe Harris. Don't love the price point on Patty Mills. Cam Thomas, I think, is viable. We kind of know what Cam Thomas is. He's going to come off the bench and he's going to chuck. He played 18 minutes last game. I think he is definitely someone we can consider in a GPP. Is there anyone else I want to mention here? I don't think so. I think that's it for the Nets. So let's move on to Orlando. So Orlando in the first preseason game, we saw starters play like low 20s minutes. You saw 24 for Banchero, who had an awful shooting game, 21 for Wendell Carter Jr., 21 for Bamba, 21 for Cole, and 17 for Jalen Suggs. Looking at players and their price points, you do have Banchero once again at 5.5K. I think he's the guy that stands the most. Again, 2 for 9 shooting. Don't think he's going to shoot that bad again. But he had 8 points, 2 boards, 1 assist, a couple steals, and a block. He's a stat sheet stuffer. So I think he makes for a pretty good value play. The guys at the top, Carter Jr., Cole Anthony, they're both fine plays. Franz Wagner also missed last game, but he's expected to be available, so he should be another body in this rotation. Don't love the price point on him. I think I would lean Carter and Cole Anthony if I had to pick, guys at the top. Mo Bamba also started. We'll see what they do with the starting lineup with Franz back. Maybe they shift Carter Jr. to the 5, bring Mo Bamba off the bench. So we'll keep an eye on that. Suggs at 6'4", don't love that. Off the bench for the Magic, so I was curious to see what the bench rotation would be. You saw 25 minutes for RJ Hampton, who had a pretty good game, but Hampton, last year was like really, really bad as far as point per minute goes. Bol also saw 20 minutes, and he saw 20 minutes for Wagner, 14 minutes for Ross, and that was about it as far as guys that got decent minutes. So looking at price points, you have Bol, it's only 4.4K. So if we're gonna get Bol like a pretty decent part of this rotation, then I have some interest. So I definitely think he's viable. Mo Wagner's only 5'3". He's another solid point per minute guy. So those two are in play. Hampton had a good game last game. I think he'll be a bit over-owned. I don't necessarily trust him to have that type of performance again. Probably it. I mean, Ross will chuck when he's out there. I just don't expect him to play huge minutes. So let's move on to the San Antonio Spurs, who got absolutely destroyed by my team, the Houston Rockets. You guys know I love the Rockets this year. But yeah, Spurs minutes, yuck. This is disgusting. This is what Greg Popovich will do for you, right? Playing like no one more than like 20 minutes, playing like every guy in the roster. Just an absolutely disgusting rotation from Pop. So we'll monitor news here. If they're going to run a similar rotation again, then it's hard to feel confident with anyone. If we get news that starters are going to play into the second half, then there are some guys that look pretty good. So Jakob Poeltl, 7'2". I think he'd be a pretty safe play. High floor, good rebounder, good shot blocker. Keldon Johnson probably will still be out, as well as Primo. So don't expect those guys to play. So you should have Devin Vassell kind of leading the way offensively. He had a really, really bad shooting game last game. He shot 4 of 13. But he will be, one of the main guys offensively. So do have some interest in him. Trey Jones started the point, only 5.2K. That does feel a bit too cheap. And then you have backup 5, Zach Collins, who's a really good point per minute guy. Got in some foul trouble, but I do like him. Roby got some bench time run as well. He's solid, but I think I would prefer Zach Collins. Collins also has power forward eligibility. Other options for the Spurs, I mean, and they really spread it out. So besides like the starters, I mean, maybe the rookies, right? You saw Sochan play 17 minutes, Branham play 14. I guess those guys would be viable, but no one else that really stands out to me for the Spurs. And then finally, Minnesota and the Lakers. So this also surprised me and tilted me how much the starters played. I mean, 23 minutes for Ant-Man was a bit of a surprise. I was thinking you'd only play like the first half or so. But yeah, you saw, again, they rested some of their main guys, but Ant-Man did play 23 minutes. Slow-Mo played 24 minutes. Now, Cat and Gobert, I believe they will still be out. Gobert was just rest. So I think Gobert actually could be back. Cat's dealing with an illness, so we'll see. I think, Cat probably doesn't play. Gobert probably comes back. And then D'Lo was also out for rest. Expect him to be back. So the price points on the Minnesota guys, not amazing, but if we do get confirmation that they are going to play into the second half, then I think, the main guys like Ant, D'Lo, and Gobert all look pretty solid. They are going up against the Lakers, who are on a back-to-back and should be resting their big three. So, should be a pretty good matchup for these Minnesota Timberwolves. So, again, Gobert, Edwards, D'Lo, I think all look pretty good. I don't love the price point in Slow-Mo or McDaniels. Now, Naz Reid started the 5 last game. We'll see. Again, we'll keep an eye on news. If Naz Reid starts again, then obviously I like him. And if you played Naz Reid last slate, you got so unlucky. Normally it's someone, it's almost a lock that's always someone that I have in my lineup that gets in random massive foul trouble. But yeah, Naz Reid lost some pretty solid minutes due to random foul trouble. He's a really good point per minute guy. I do kind of like him in the mid-range. If both centers are out again and they start Naz Reid, then we can look to value play in Nathan Knight, who I mentioned last slate, and he had a really good game, 14.7 boards, a couple assists. I would say that game's probably a bit of an outlier, but he is still a good point per minute guy and would be a viable option. And then, let's see, was there anyone else I wanted to mention? So they started Noel at the point. I mean, him and McLaughlin are decent as far as point per minute goes. I do think those guys are at least playable. The rookies really didn't get much run. Moore, only 10 minutes. Minot, only 9 minutes. So not great for rookies and their minutes. And then finally, the LA Lakers. So I think this is where we'll get some value on the slate for sure. Don't expect LeBron, AD, or Westbrook to play. I think Schroeder, Lonnie Walker will still be out. You might see Pat Beverly not play as well. So the Lakers could be really thin. And DraftKings still has guys in here that are not on the team. Like Carmelo's not on the team. Dwight Howard's not on the team. So be careful. Don't be playing guys that are not on the team. So, yeah, I think this is, again, where we can get some value. Kendrick Nunn in a really solid game. If all those guys are out, he should probably lead the way offensively. I would like him a good amount. Austin Reeves, can we talk about his game at halftime? He had 8 assists at half. I think he would make for a really good play. So Reeves and Nunn, probably the two guys I feel the best about. Gabriel started the 5 and had a really bad game. But you'll probably get Gabriel, Bryant, Damian Jones kind of splitting center minutes. They would all be solid options. Would expect JTA to probably pick up the start. I think he'd be a pretty good value play. Max Christie might be the worst draft pick in the history of draft picks. I mean, he is horrific. An absolutely just awful, awful player. Watched him at MSU. I have no idea why he was a high draft pick. He is awful. And then, a little bit of interest maybe in a guy, Scottie Pippen, who we played a lot in the summer league. And then kind of keeping an eye on the starting lineup. Dwayne Bacon is now back in the NBA. He got a little bit of run, but I think mainly Reeves, Nunn, the bigs, JTA, and then keep an eye on who else is going to be starting. But definitely be careful here. The Lakers, DraftKings has a lot of guys that are no longer on this team in the player pool. So do not be playing someone that is not on the team. But yeah, guys, that's going to wrap it up for the video. So hopefully you enjoyed. Appreciate you for, once again, putting up with my tilts. But I just want to not run awful one day. That's all that I ask for. And for tomorrow, can the Denver defense people be punished? I'm going to be sleeping tonight. Those are my 2 wishes. Not run awful in the NBA preseason slate, and for the Denver D people to be punished tomorrow. Appreciate you guys. Thanks again. Enjoy the rest of your night. I'll see you in the next video.